Hello, Miss Steele here. So this week we have been talking about abstract art and cubism and a lot of non-objective art. So art that just includes a lot of shape, a lot of line, and that sort of fun stuff. So for this project, we're going to make our own Kandinsky-inspired, Walisi Kandinsky-inspired designs. So what you want is, I should have a picture of this wherever this project is posted. So you want this because it has some different shape ideas for Kandinsky. And we're going to be using this. You want a white piece of paper. You want a pencil and an eraser. Boop. And then you want something to outline your pencil lines in, because we want our lines to be really bold before we add color. So I have 2 black markers, a thicker Sharpie and a thinner Sharpie, just because I like to use some thin ones, some thicker ones. You could always use a marker or a colored pencil, or even a pen could work. And then you want something to color in with. I'm going to be using watercolors for mine, just because we haven't painted much. But if you don't have any paints, you can use colored pencils. Markers would work really good for this, or whatever you have to color in with. So I'm going to set this aside because we do not need these yet. And I'm going to start out by drawing 3 shapes from each of these. I'm going to draw one big, one medium, and one smaller from each of these. So 3, 3, 3. And then I'm going to add in any more if I feel like I need some more. So I'm going to start out with my biggest shape, and I think I'm going to use this for my biggest shape. So I'm going to draw it very large, taking up about half of my paper. I'm going to pick another shape, and I'm going to make it medium size, and I think I'm going to do this kind of rounded moon shape. So instead of doing this super big, I'm going to do it a little bit smaller. So you want one bigger than your fist, smaller than your fist for medium, and then one that is our small shape. And I think I'm going to use this for my small shape. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller than the other 2, like that. So now I have my 3 shapes from this category. I'm going to flip my paper just so I can keep them going each direction. And I'm going to pick 3 of these. And I'm going to draw my first one bigger. And I like this like long sort of snaky organic shape. So I'm going to draw that really big on my paper. So there's my big one. I think I'm going to use this shape for my medium. And you want these kind of overlapping, or you can space them out more. So there's my medium. And then for my small, I kind of like this sort of funky shape. So I'm going to add that in for my small shape. Like that. So now I have 3 and 3, and now I want to add in 3 of these different line designs. And I think I'm going to use this one for my big line. I'm going to do it just going over the top of some of these. 1, 2, 1 right here. I really like this line, so I think I'm going to use that for my medium one. So it's going to be a little bit smaller, like that, with a line next to it. So now I have 1, 2, and then I think for my third one, I'm just going to use these 2 little lines, and I think I'm going to add them right here. So now what I can do is I can look around and decide if I want to add some more things to this or not. I think I am, but if you wanted to leave it just like this, you could, because we did 3 from each. But I think I'm just going to throw in a few more lines like that. So now once I feel like my page is filled up enough for what I want it to be, I would go through and I would start outlining. And I like to use a thicker marker and a thinner marker because I like to have different line weight, which is how thick or how thin a line is. So I would use my thicker marker for some of them, and then I would go back and use my thinner marker for other things, just so some of the shapes can be thicker, some of the shapes can be thinner. And then once I get done outlining, I would go back and I would use my eraser to erase any pencil lines that are hanging out. So instead of outlining this one fully, I'm going to set it aside because I already have one that I have drawn and outlined, so I can start painting it in. Like I said, if you do not have paint, you can use whatever you have. But you can see I try to kind of fill up my paper. You can see where I outline some of the things thinner, I outline some of the things thicker, and I think it looks really interesting whenever you have different line weight. So now I would start painting this in, and you can paint it in or color it in how you like, but I think I'm going to try to stay inside my shapes for some of them, and then go outside of my shapes for some of them. The cool thing about this project is everyone's will look a little bit different just because we'll put different stuff in different areas. So you want to try to stay within your shapes whenever you're painting them. And then if you want to go over your lines with color, you can do that as well. So I'm going to work on getting this painted in using my watercolors. And watercolors are kind of like dried paint in here. And so whenever we put water on our brush, it activates the paints and it makes them work again. So if I wanted to add something, let's say, on top of these lines, what I could do is I could go over it with a little bit of red. And if it bleeds out a little bit, that's okay. But that's what I could do for my lines, is go over it with a little bit of color like this. You can paint on the outside as well if you'd like, but you want to at least have all of your shapes colored in, and you want to use a variety of colors so it doesn't all look the same, because we spent all of this time adding in all of these really interesting lines and shapes. So we want to be just as mindful whenever we're painting it in to make it look really nice. So I'm going to work on getting this painted in, and then we're going to check on it whenever I get done, and then we will have our completed Kandinsky designs. And this is a fun project because, like I said, everyone's is going to look a little bit different. So I'm going to work on getting this painted in, and then we'll look at it whenever I have it finished. Alright, so I just got done painting mine. Again, you could color yours in if you don't have paints. But I try to use different colors in the different areas for my lines and all that. If they blend and blur together a little bit, that's fine. Walisi's Kandinsky's did that too. I thought that my white spaces were just a little too bright and white and they were distracting from the rest of it. So I just threw in some little pops of color. But the focus is definitely these super bright, fun shapes that are going in all sorts of directions with my lines. I cannot wait to see how yours come out, and I will see you all next time. Have a wonderful rest of your morning, your evening, your afternoon, whenever you're watching this. Bye.